Hello, and thank you everyone for joining me for the message that I have today. Now, the majority of the time, I'm going to bring a message on here that's directly, more specifically, towards our youth. But I just didn't see any way to share the message today with just our youth without including the family. And I do mean the Church of God, the entire family, not just those at your home, but those all around them or anyone in their environment, because we should all be involved somehow in some way in directing our youth. So today I'm talking to anyone, the parents, the teachers, any mentors, any type of leader, and should be almost everyone that has some type of involvement with them. Today's message is going to be focused on mentoring our youth. Now the title is "Oh Captain, My Captain." I based it off of First and Second Timothy, where we're going to be, but also a poem that was written by Walt Whitman in the late 1800s. It was actually written, "Oh Captain, My Captain," the poem by Walt Whitman was written for mourning the loss of President Lincoln. He had died in 1865. So, in the poem, what it's doing is it's comparing the death of a ship's captain and the death of the president, Abraham Lincoln, back then in 1865. Now, a captain is the leader of the ship, just as the president was a leader of the country. And in our scenario, we as believers, us adults, those who are leading and in charge and working and walking in the faith, we should be the captains to our youth. And the youth, they are our ships. They are the ones that we are responsible for to guide them in a correct direction upon Jesus' way in their life. So the question becomes, whose captain am I? Immediately, we're going to say things such as, well, my wife or my husband, our immediate, our family, the people who are around us and that we know, and that is true. God obviously tells us that we should be leading as captains in our home. But what about the boy or the girl who doesn't have that other parent, that other father or that other mother? What about the one that's struggling with some particular thing? What about someone who is a youth that has gotten into the wrong crowd? You see them, but what are we doing about that? What type of involvement biblically do we have in responsibility to them? For that, we're going to go and look at Paul and a very young Timothy at the time. Paul's going to be our captain and a representation of us as the adults, as those mentors that we should be for the youth. And Timothy is going to be our ships. That's going to be our youth. His direction is who we want to help. And we're going to look at 1 Timothy 1:18 through 19. And it says, "This charge I entrust to you, Timothy, my child, in accordance with the prophecy previously made about you, that by them you may wage the good warfare, holding faith and a good conscience. By rejecting this, some have made shipwreck of their faith." See, Paul knew as a young pastor that Timothy was going to face a lot of challenges. He was going to have a lot of his faith put on trial. And he's teaching Timothy how to kind of steer, how to steady his faith ship from being shipwrecked. And to keep his faith strong, Paul mentored Timothy, the same as we should be mentoring our youth to fight the good fight of faith. If you look in 2 Timothy 4:7, it says, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." He is speaking about keeping the faith until the end. This statement is what reflects his struggles, what he went through when he was trying to preach the gospel, and also, though, the victory that he had over them. Even as others were falling away from the faith, they were being shipwrecked. He states that I have finished the race. We're not writing, or he's not writing about the distance of the race, but the enabling the enabling power of God's grace to be able to run the race despite all the challenges and all the difficulties that he faced at that time. He had to put every effort that he had into the work of proclaiming the gospel to all the people. The same as the amount of work that we need to put in with our youth and those that need our direction. But he had completed the race set before him. Paul felt that he left nothing unfinished. And that's faith, fighting the good fight till the end. But it really makes me inventory myself. I question myself as a husband, as even a friend or any type of mentor, as a leader of youth. Am I doing such as what is asked of me biblically by the Lord? Am I being a captain for him in his way? our examples, the way that we live our life and how we walk with Jesus, that's going to define who we are as a mentor and a leader. And it's going to have a great effect on those of the lives that like we touch. Are we lining up with the word? And more importantly, are we admitting when we're not? The reality is people think they get in those positions and it's perfection that's going to happen. But it's not. We all make mistakes. We all fall short of the glory of God, every one of us. But the most important thing is that forgiveness, that repentance, that we bring it up, we're talking about it, listening to the people who are correcting us, having accountability within the church and even other leaders. Because, see, this is what the youth sees. Are we providing these life lessons, these life teachings? It's not just they should see us do good. What do we do when we fail? They need to see that. How do we handle those scenarios, husbands, when we make a mistake when it comes to maybe arguing with our wife? Are we going to our sons and talking to them in a life lesson saying, hey, I was wrong? That is not how you speak to someone you love. They need to understand, one, mistakes happen, so they can then get to the point of learning the forgiveness that God offers and how to turn and repent from what it is they were doing in sin. In Walt Whitman's poem, O Captain by Captain, there's a line that reads, for you they call, eager faces turning. I'm going to say that again. For you they call, eager faces turning. What it's saying is during the difficult times, parents, when the kids are struggling or when the people who were on the ship were struggling, having difficulties, who did they look to? They looked to their captain. They looked at them for direction, to see what they needed to do. They seeked it. They yearned it. It was something within them that they wanted to be led. Our youth are looking for you, me, all of us. Where are we? What are we doing? How are we living our lives? Are we separating two lives, one that's inside the church for others to see and one that isn't like that at home or isn't like that out in the world? The youth have questions. Our children have questions, and they're going to find the answers. I see it all the time. I see them ask question after question, and the reality is they're going to go find that answer, whether it's going to be on their phone, online, from someone else, maybe someone that's not walking with Jesus. Wouldn't you rather it be you? Statistics tell us a certain percentage of resilient youth disciples today. By that I mean it's a youth that turns into an adult from 18 into 21, and someone who still walks with Jesus, goes to church once a month, is involved in voluntary activities outside of the church, and uses Jesus as their direction in their life for their purpose and their calling. That percentage is 10%. 10% resilient disciples. I spoke with a professor about this once, and he said, that's good. I disagree. I say that us as leaders are not finishing our job. I say, unlike Paul, we have unfinished business. See, in Timothy's spiritual life, he had to fight, run, and keep. So it's the same with our youth and our children. They must learn to fight the good fight. They must run the race to finish it. And they need to keep the faith. While serving Christ, we're motivated to excel, to win an eternal crown, not a temporary one that the world offers. And we need to teach them that, show them that, guide them towards that. Timothy is exhorted and he's mentored by Paul to be diligent and steadfast in his race, to keep his eyes set on the goal. And like Paul, to finish the race strong. Mentoring our youth in any capacity that we can is biblical and called for by God. And it's displayed through Jesus in the Bible, as well as Paul and many others who help direct others in their walk. How important it is to do so with our family, but it doesn't end there. It doesn't end with just familiar people that we know around us, our immediate environment. It's any of us that, or any of them that seek us, have seen us, and that we see that need us. In our scope, in my scope, in this ministry, it's our youth. They seek what we have. What are we showing them? And if we have it, are we showing them and explaining and teaching them? They thirst to be led. They want to be led towards Jesus, but we're the ones that are supposed to help them, guide them to that revelation. We're the ones that are supposed to lead them towards that calling that God has put on their life. God's sovereign, but he uses us as his hands and feet. We're limiting that usage because we want the immediate comfortability. We don't want to feel uncomfortable in our actions. But God says to go to the world and share Jesus. Our youth are hungry, and they shall be fed. But fed what? And fed by whom? That's up to you. It's up to me. That's up to all of us. God bless. Stay blessed and have a great day.